Hi y'all, welcome to my shop. I recently demonstrated how to turn a bottle stopper. Some of y'all might have turned a few of them and thinking about how to display them, or maybe you've turned enough of them you're even thinking about how to sell them. So in this video today I'm going to demonstrate how you're going to make a display similar to the one shown here. I'm making this about 7 3/8 inches in diameter with the inner collar about 2 5/8. So I cut me out a square of wood. You can use MDF, you can use plywood, you can use, as I'm doing here, a piece of pine. It doesn't matter because you're going to paint it later, and we'll discuss that a little bit later. So I cut this 7 1/2 inches square, marking it from center to center, and then where it crosses, that's where we're going to use the compass. So we take half of this size here, and then we're just going to mark that with the compass. Now we're going to mark the center 2 5/8. I'm going to go ahead and mark that. So I take this piece that we marked and I'm going to cut it round. Okay, I've mounted a round piece of pine, but it could be MDF or plywood, 5 1/2 inches or 14 centimeters. I put it on this threaded glue block, but you could mount it on a face plate as well, or you could even turn a recess for it, or a screw chuck for that matter, a woodworm screw. Alright, I cut this round on a bandsaw. You could use a coping saw, jigsaw. It doesn't have to be perfectly round. That's not an issue. I'm not even going to bother to true that up. I am, however, going to face it off because I am going to put a flat piece of wood on top of it. This is plywood, so it might have just a little bit of bow in it. Enough. You know, even if you don't want to wind up making a display, there may be some technique that I use here that you might be able to use on another project. So I'm using turner's tape to fasten this larger board to the smaller one. I could use hot melt glue. I could probably use CA, medium CA, but I've got a bit of turner's tape that I've had for years and don't get a lot of use out of it, so I find this sometimes the easiest way to deal with some of these fastenings. Take the board. I checked it for squareness. It's fairly flat. It's flat enough. I've got a hole here for the live center, so I can just bring this up. One of the keys to using turner's tape to get a really strong hold is to go ahead and fasten that thing down pretty good. But we're going to take this one off because it just focuses all the pressure in one point in the center. And for this larger surface area, I think I'd like something a little bit wider, so I'm using my Nova Live Center. It's got this cone that I can reverse, and that'll give me a little larger area to get some pressure on. So I'm just going to leave that pressed for a while. It's good to leave it for at least 10 minutes. Alright, so first thing we're going to do, we're going to true up the outside. And we're going to use a bowl gouge for that because the grain is running this way, just like a bowl orientation. It's not a spindle. And we're going to come in from both sides so we don't get any tear out. And since I got it supported with a tailstock, we're going to get this thing up to about 1,000. And just ease it in. Come in from the other direction. Smooth smooth, good, no tear out. All right, now we're just going to round over just a little bit. Tighten it up a little bit. Just going to round it over on each end. Just using it, just using it as a scraper. And then from this side, I'm going to do a little bit more round over. I'm going to turn this at 45 degrees. And I want to round over this whole corner before I put a bead there. Just a bit of a detail on it, and I think the way I want to do that is use my detail gouge. And I'm just going to come in right here about 1/8 of an inch into the middle. Just bring it out. I'm going to use my point tool and come straight in. That bead with that. Okay, so that gives me just a little bit of a detail on the end. I want to do something similar in the middle, but I need to face this off, so let's do that. And I think I'm going to resort to this cone so I can get in there. Tool rest. Let's come out here with this one. I'm going to try to see if I can get a smoother surface with this skew as a negative rake scraper. Very light pressure. A little bit better. I could use some sanding. We'll deal with that later. Okay, so I want to put a bead in here, and I'm going to cut down through here in just a moment. But I want to put a detail in here. So I think what I want to do is I want to mark that with this round skew. Come in here. Take out the middle. Take this detail gouge and just come in here and take it down some. And then come in here and just bring this in. Kind of slice that bead in. The trick is I've got to take out this middle. That's the whole purpose for having this board in the back. I mean, not only to support this, but also to allow me to take that off. So before I do that, I probably need to back this off and go ahead and do any sanding I'm going to do. So let me do that off camera. Now, before I cut out the center, I need to mark a line that we can drill holes in, and I want to come in, the largest hole is probably going to be a little bit, maybe it's a little bit more than 1 inch, so I want to come in from that about, and I'm going to come in from here, and I want probably about 5/8. So that's going to be the line I'm going to drill on. So I need to reestablish this line through the middle that I've sanded off to drill on. come back over here. And then we're going to come to, it's clear here where it is. And we're going to come, okay. So now we've got those 4 lines. We can interpolate in between there easily enough to get the other 4. Point tool to add one more bead. But I think to make it a little sharper, I'm going to go ahead and use my detail gouge. I'm going to use a parting tool to cut through here at a slight angle. Let's see how that works, at least for a ways. I want this tailstock support in case this thing comes flying loose. It'll still be captured. And the tool I'm going to use this captive ring tool. I think that'll allow me to get in there for a little ways. Let's see how that works. Well, a little jerky. I'm using a very thin parting tool. At a very slight angle. Almost. Now we're just gonna put a little pressure on one side, and there we go. Coming off. Not any problem. Tore a little bit of this off. Actually, I find it easier and safer to drill the holes with a drill press, but if you don't have a drill press, you can of course use a hand drill. Here's the completed one. I painted it white because I want a neutral background. You don't want wood to distract from the focus and the attention being placed on the bottle stoppers. And of course it covers up MDF or plywood. I used house paint. Use whatever white paint you have on hand. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. If you haven't checked out my Amazon shop, click on the link in the show notes. Y'all stay safe. Come on back here.